right at this very second, an invisible current is sweeping across the energetic field, carrying a transmission that completely bypasses your rational brain. It has pinpointed your exact coordinates with an accuracy that makes a mockery of chance and mathematical probability. You might be under the assumption that you stumbled upon this space by pure coincidence, perhaps through a random click, a mindless scroll, or the cold, calculated sorting of a digital algorithm. However, you must immediately discard that superficial illusion. The reality of your presence here is profoundly more majestic and infinitely more demanding. You were deliberately tracked down. You have been isolated from the collective noise because of a highly specific, hidden resonance you have been emitting into the ether. This is a subtle vibration emanating from the absolute center of your being, an unseen architecture that orchestrates your breathing reality, yet operates entirely outside your day-to-day consciousness. This convergence is no mere accident of fate. It represents the magnificent pinnacle of an epic voyage, one that has been gathering momentum across hundreds of years. It spans uncountable lifetimes, meticulously woven through the quiet, enduring blueprint of a spirit that has, at long last, being stepped up to the precise doorway it has been marching towards since long before you were even given your current name. Halt whatever you are doing for just a second. Let the profound gravity of this realization sink deep into your physical body. Just pause. Tune into the unique texture of this exact cross-section of time. You are not merely a passive consumer staring at a screen. You are currently balanced on the precipice of an irrevocable transformation. A deep-seated aspect of your psyche locked onto the vibration of this message long before your intellect could even begin to process or judge it. And that spark of recognition is the stirring of something ageless within you. It is a formidable, shatterproof essence that is finally shaking off its slumber and preparing to wake up. For the vast majority of your current incarnation, you have desperately tried to rationalize and suppress that relentless, gnawing agitation echoing in the core of your chest. You have attempted to cure this ache through self-improvement, by chasing new romances, by racking up worldly successes, or by endlessly hoarding knowledge and facts. Yet, that spiritual starvation refuses to be silenced. It manifests as a silent, undeniable feeling of chronic displacement. It is as though you are an exiled inhabitant of a vibrant, radiant realm, currently trapped, navigating a desolate landscape composed of heavy gravity and muted, gray shadows. You have continually felt vastly overgrown for the tiny, suffocating box your life has become. You find yourself constantly acting out societal roles that fit like rigid, itchy garments, blindly adhering to scripts that your very cells scream do not belong to you. I need you to understand that this agonizing friction is not an indicator of personal failure, nor is it a clinical symptom of depression. Rather, it is the intense, necessary evolutionary pressure of a spirit that has completely shattered the boundaries of its current paradigm. It is the awakening of your monad, the infinite, uncut, indivisible core of your true identity, announcing that your era of playing small and hiding in the shadows is officially terminated. You have been summoned for this precise juncture in history. This call did not come from an external authority figure or a faraway deity in the sky, but from the deepest, most primordial iteration of yourself. This is the version of you that predates the trauma of your history, exists outside the scars you bear, and transcends every false limitation you have ever adopted as undeniable fact. That timeless observer has reached forward across the chaotic static of a modern world that constantly drains your energy, deliberately positioning you right here, right now. Because tonight, a monumental gateway is scheduled to unlock. I ask you to entertain the profound reality that your earthly existence has never been a chaotic string of random mishaps. Instead, it has been a flawlessly executed, rigorous syllabus engineered specifically to elevate you to this exact octave of readiness. The esoteric mystery schools of ancient Alexandria and the secret brotherhoods of Pythagoras held a sacred understanding that our superficial, convenience-obsessed era has entirely forgotten. True readiness is not a fleeting emotional state. It is a highly precise, technical, energetic frequency. There exist specific cosmic downloads, immense reserves of power, and exalted states of consciousness that can only be successfully received when the human vessel has been meticulously tuned to the exact necessary vibrational density. Your internal octave has successfully up-leveled. The undeniable fact that you are able to decipher the silent energetic signature woven beneath my spoken words is the ultimate diploma of your graduation. For eons, you have operated as a cosmic pilgrim, a wanderer navigating the dense dimensions of physical form, accumulating the harsh but necessary wisdom born from duality and separation. You have experienced the intoxicating peaks of sovereign power and the humbling valleys of servitude. You have burned in the intense fires of creation and frozen in the bitter wastelands of ultimate loss. All of it was a vital component of your spiritual blacksmithing. Every devastating crisis that forced you to your knees, and every agonizing betrayal that obliterated your innocence, was a hyper-calculated strike by the master architect. It was designed to ruthlessly peel away the suffocating layers of your artificial ego so that the monad, the singular, the absolute, the undivided whole could finally step into the light without dilution. Hear me clearly. What happens tonight is not a poetic metaphor. It is not a comforting, fluffy spiritual concept designed to act as a metaphysical pacifier that you keep in your pocket. We are discussing a literal, structural tear in the fabric of your conscious architecture, a mystical window that has remained hermetically sealed for thousands of millennia. This energetic quarantine was not imposed upon you by malevolent enemies or a punishing universe. It was simply sealed by the strict laws of cosmic timing. In the past, you were completely unequipped to hold the blinding electrical voltage of your own absolute totality. If you had attempted to wield this immense power while still fiercely attached to your fragmented, fear-based ego, it would have been catastrophically destructive. But you have successfully traversed the crucible of fire. You have bravely withstood the complete dissolution of your outdated identities. You have finally arrived at the sacred coordinates where you no longer crave the divine to serve your human ego, but rather, you seek only to step aside and allow the divine to move through you as a pure, sovereign force. This exact state of absolute willingness is the master key that finally turns the lock. The monad represents the absolute, indivisible singularity of pure consciousness, a microscopic focal point that paradoxically houses the infinite vastness of the entire cosmos within its boundaries. As of this very evening, that dormant epicenter is initiating a profound activation sequence deep within the cellular structure of your physical body. You are currently transitioning away from the limited perception of being a mere splinter of a greater reality. Instead, you are waking up to the staggering realization that you are, in fact, the complete and total universe, simply choosing to express itself through one highly specific, localized biological coordinate. Allow the sheer magnitude of that revelation to anchor itself deeply within your psyche. You have never been a random, isolated piece of some massive cosmic jigsaw puzzle. Rather, you are the entire, completed puzzle, intricately experiencing its own majesty through a completely singular and irreplaceable vantage point. Your unique personality and individuality do not signify any sort of disconnection or distance from the ultimate source. Quite the contrary, your exact idiosyncratic existence is the precise mechanism the Creator utilizes to explore, experience, and intimately know itself. Up until this pivotal juncture, the vast majority of your human experience has been heavily anchored in the frequency of the dyad. This is the governing principle of duality, the realm of the two, characterized by endless friction, relentless comparison, and an agonizing, perpetual hunger for outside approval. The dyad is the psychological arena where you are conditioned to feel insignificant, where you are tricked into believing you must ruthlessly battle others for scarce survival resources, and where your fundamental self-worth is dangerously tied to your worldly output and performance. While this dense tier of consciousness undeniably offered profound evolutionary lessons, it is an educational paradigm that your soul has now definitively outgrown. The intense internal friction you are currently navigating is simply the spiritual equivalent of a pearl forming within an oyster. That profound irritation echoing through your daily life, the overwhelming sensation that time is accelerating and that the foundational pillars of your reality are rapidly crumbling is not a sign of failure. It is the absolutely vital, chaotic disruption that must occur right before a magnificent, systemic reorganization takes place. You are not experiencing a mental or emotional breakdown. You are undergoing a sacred process of energetic condensation. You are actively being purified, smelted in the fires of awakening, to emerge as the uncorrupted gold of unified, entirely self-sustaining awareness. When the legendary alchemists of antiquity documented their great works, they were never genuinely concerned with transmuting literal, physical lead into mundane material gold. Their esoteric texts were meticulously veiled blueprints detailing this exact inner metamorphosis. They were actively mapping out the mystical transmutation of a fragile, fear-driven, externally reliant ego into the brilliant, indestructible luminescence of the awakened monad. And you must understand that once this profound alchemical reaction is catalyzed, it is entirely irreversible. You are currently being summoned back to your absolute point of origin. This is not a cowardly retreat from the world, but rather a majestic reclamation of your innate, sovereign power. That breathless sense of urgency vibrating within your chest cavity is frequently misdiagnosed as standard human anxiety. It is not. It is the literal, undeniable gravitational pull of your own divine epicenter. It is the monad sounding the frequency of home, reeling its outward projections back into the core. Picture yourself as an exhausted but triumphant cosmic wanderer who has finally dragged themselves to the grand, sweeping doors of the library of the Logos. The gatekeeper standing there is completely uninterested in your earthly resume, your accumulated wealth, or your catalog of personal failures. The only metric being assessed is your raw, energetic frequency. The gatekeeper can plainly see that you have arrived at the ultimate threshold of maturation, realizing that the external pursuit of happiness has been entirely exhausted. The journey inward into the void of yourself is the solitary path remaining, and quite frankly, it is the only expedition that ever held any genuine cosmic significance. You must recognize that you will not be offered another opportunity to step through this highly specific, celestial window of alignment with such incredibly low resistance. Within the complex, unseen mechanics of spiritual evolution, there exist rare, fleeting pockets of preordained harmony. During these brief intervals, the massive tidal forces of the cosmos seamlessly synchronize with your personal state of readiness, allowing for leaps in evolution that feel almost completely effortless. Should you choose to ignore or walk past this open gateway, your evolutionary journey will undeniably press forward, but the gravity and density will multiply exponentially. A spiritual course correction that can be achieved tonight with a single, clear, conscious decision would demand decades of grueling, agonizing friction if attempted after this portal seals shut. This is precisely why it is imperative that you absorb these truths not merely with your physical auditory senses, but with the entire weight and momentum of your existence. You are being explicitly instructed to allow your exhausted, outdated narratives to finally perish. You must release the comforting but toxic story of the perpetually wounded child. You must drop the heavy script of the individual who fundamentally believes they are inherently flawed or inadequate. You must violently sever ties with the illusion that you are a helpless victim endlessly waiting for an external savior to rescue you. Not a single one of those fictitious identities can possibly survive the blinding light of the monad's activation. Those are the fragmented illusions of the dying dyad. And as of tonight, you are being reintegrated into the seamless whole. You are the towering beacon in the dark. You are the flawless mirror reflecting the divine. And you are the absolute, immovable center point around which the chaotic wheel of existence spins. This highly calibrated signal successfully intercepted you for one reason only. You are finally equipped to loudly broadcast the unapologetic truth of your supreme identity. Understand this deeply. This mystical activation has absolutely zero interest in your human perfection. It requires only your raw, unshielded presence. You have arrived. The ancient monad within is stirring from its long slumber. The great voyage home has officially commenced. To successfully decode the intricate cartography of your soul's supreme mission, we are first required to examine the deeply embedded architectural error that has kept you aimlessly circling the outer edges of your own majesty for countless years. Be warned, this cosmic map is not a self-help checklist designed to optimize your earthly personality, nor is it a strategic playbook to help you achieve hollow societal success. It is, instead, a profound, esoteric blueprint detailing the foundational geometry of your very consciousness. The great sages of antiquity, stretching from the brilliant Hermetic masters of ancient Egypt to the visionary Neoplatonic philosophers of the Mediterranean, possessed a chillingly accurate understanding of our current plight. They knew that the baseline human experience had become tragically ensnared within a highly restrictive, suffocating frequency they identified as the dyad. The dyad represents the fundamental principle of division. It is the numerical concept of two manifested as a reality, serving as the toxic root system from which all illusionary separation, hostility, and war grow. It operates as a psychological cage where you are convinced you are nothing more than a vulnerable speck of biological matter, adrift in a cold, hostile, and utterly indifferent universe, desperately scouring the external world to find the missing pieces of a wholeness that always seems just out of reach. While trapped inside the dense gravity of the dyad, your baseline operational state is a chronic feeling of deficit, of simply lacking. You squander your life force obsessively measuring your messy, complex internal reality against the heavily curated, artificial external performances of those around you. You live your life in a perpetual waiting room, praying for some magical future milestone to arrive and finally grant you permission to feel worthy of existing. This is the crippling, static frequency that breeds rampant anxiety, cutthroat competition, and a profound, hollow loneliness that absolutely no amount of romantic love, friendship, or social interaction can ever permanently heal. Make no mistake, this dense tier of awareness was originally engineered as a brilliant classroom to teach you the harsh but necessary mechanics of contrast and duality. However, that classroom has long since devolved into a heavily guarded prison cell, suffocating the brilliant, infinite monad that resides at your core. But I invite you to entertain a radical shift in perspective. What if this terrifying, agonizing isolation is nothing more than a localized hallucination? What if your deep-seated sensation of being severed from the cosmos is not a concrete reality, but merely a temporary glitch in your perceptual lens? You are not a solitary, jagged fragment desperately trying to find its place in a grand cosmic jigsaw puzzle. You are the completed masterpiece itself, currently suffering from a profound, self-imposed amnesia. To truly grasp the magnitude of this, visualize a supremely gifted creator, a master architect possessing limitless genius. This visionary decides to construct an estate of unfathomable grandeur, a multi-dimensional palace engineered to house every conceivable facet of existence within its soaring walls. They meticulously craft sweeping corridors governed by pure logic and mathematics, opulent ballrooms swirling with raw emotional currents, vast, silent libraries holding the ancient archives of eternity, and lush, sprawling botanical gardens pulsating with intoxicating sensory delights. Yet, upon laying the final stone, this visionary executes the most daring feat of artistic immersion imaginable. They consciously step across the threshold of their own creation disguised as a perfectly ordinary visitor, intentionally wiping their own memory of having drafted the original blueprints. They willingly submerge themselves in the labyrinthine complexity of their own masterwork. Soon, they begin to cower from the shadows lingering in the hallways they themselves designed. They feel claustrophobic, suffocated by the very barriers they erected, frantically hunting for a brass key to unlock a gateway that was never even secured in the first place. Listen closely. That amnesiac creator is you. The sprawling, intimidating mansion represents the dense, material world of form. The agonizing state of wandering blindly through its endless halls is the dyad. The monad, conversely, is the shocking, sudden flash of total recall, the exact moment the builder remembers their true sovereign identity. The brilliant 17th-century polymath Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz captured this beautifully in his profound philosophical work, The Monadology. He proposed that every strain is fundamentally an enclosed, irreducible singularity, a simple, localized point of awareness completely devoid of external windows. This implies that your ultimate reality is not something fed to you by the outside environment. Rather, every single monad acts as a flawless, multidimensional mirror, reflecting the absolute entirety of the universe through its own radically unique focal point. You are a breathing, walking holographic projection of the totality. When you gaze upward at the midnight sky, you are not staring at remote, disconnected celestial bodies millions of light years away. You are actively witnessing a direct, visual projection of the boundless, unfathomable depths that already reside within your own internal quietude. Similarly, the revered Neoplatonic philosopher Plotinus identified the soul's ultimate trajectory not as a forward march, but as epistrophe, a deliberate inward reversion toward the source. He recognized that humanity does not need to traverse vast physical distances to locate the divine or discover absolute truth. The singular requirement is simply to retract our frantic, obsessive fixation on the external, material theater, turning our gaze inward to recognize our unalterable, inherent nature. This profound inward retraction is precisely the chaotic upheaval you are undergoing right at this very second. The overwhelming intensity saturating your daily life, the rapid disintegration of the societal masks you've worn, and the terrifying sensation that the very floorboards of your reality are caving in. This is the immense gravitational force of the awakened monad, dragging you back home to the center of the mansion. You have undoubtedly realized that your old survival strategies are completely collapsing. The manifestation techniques you once relied upon, the coping mechanisms you used to numb your panic and soothe your anxieties, they are all misfiring. The professional and personal roles you have dutifully performed for decades now weigh on your shoulders like suffocating chains of lead. Welcome to the alchemical fire. In the ancient esoteric science of alchemy, the necessary first phase of the great work is known as the nigredo, the intense blackening. This is the ruthless furnace where base, impure materials are melted down, scorched, and thoroughly dissolved to prepare for ultimate purification. The uninitiated view this harrowing phase as a devastating mental crisis, a tragic dark night of the soul, or an era of cruel, unexplainable loss. However, viewed through the lens of the eternal, immortal pilgrim residing within you, this destructive blaze is an act of supreme cosmic mercy. It is systematically incinerating your dyadic identity, the fragile, synthetic version of yourself, constructed entirely from the heavy expectations of society, the unhealed wounds of your childhood, and an insatiable, desperate thirst for outside validation. The flames are reducing you down to your absolute essence, the literal philosopher's stone. This is the indestructible, sovereign monadic core of your being. It is an epicenter that cannot be wounded, cannot be split, and absolutely cannot be diminished by any external tragedy or circumstance. The universe is not punishing you. Your own supreme, omniscient, highest intelligence is ruthlessly purifying you. That agonizing friction you have been wrestling with is exactly the intense pressure required to cultivate a masterpiece. Consider the humble oyster. It does not consciously set out to manufacture a priceless gem. It is simply reacting to a painful irritant, a sharp, invasive grain of sand it is entirely incapable of expelling. Instead of violently battling this foreign invasion, the oyster methodically coats the source of its agony in layer after layer of iridescent, luminous substance, ultimately transmuting its deepest irritation into an object of breathtaking treasure. Your present psychological discomfort, that chronic sensation of being totally out of phase with society, the haunting, unnameable yearning the persistent suspicion that a vital piece of the picture is missing that is your grain of sand. You have exhausted years attempting to excise this discomfort, medicate it, or run away from it. Tonight, the directive has fundamentally changed. You are being explicitly asked to envelop that existential ache in the blinding, radiant light of your newly activated monadic awareness. This spiritual rebirth is your pearl, the exact traumas, difficulties, and heartbreaks that made your earthly journey feel impossible are the raw, fertile materials your higher self is utilizing to forge your ultimate, unassailable power. The dark night you fear so deeply is not an absence of light at all. It is actually the overwhelming, blinding glare of a massive, newborn sun detonating deep inside your consciousness, a brilliance so intense that your outdated, dyadic eyes simply haven't calibrated enough to process it yet. Because Leibniz's vision was accurate, because you are indeed the living mirror of the entire cosmos operating at a highly specific biological coordinate, it completely redefines the concept of your existence. This means your true purpose is not a hidden career you must hunt down in the external world, nor is it a grand, outward crusade. Your ultimate purpose is simply the pure, unadulterated frequency you naturally emit the moment you drop the struggle and step into absolute alignment with your own central source. As long as your consciousness remains anchored within the fragmented architecture of the dyad, you will inevitably function as a broken shard, desperately hunting for its missing pieces. In this fractured state, your mind will perpetually manufacture endless justifications for your own perceived inadequacy. However, the exact moment you firmly root your awareness within the absolute singularity of the monad, a staggering revelation takes hold. You are not seeking completeness. You are the living embodiment of wholeness itself. You are simply utilizing the temporary, fragile lens of a human biological lifespan to relearn how to pronounce your own divine name. This monumental pivot in your internal vantage point literally reweaves the foundational fabric of your external reality. Those bizarre, inexplicable synchronicities that suddenly flood your daily life are no longer dismissed as mere statistical anomalies or blind luck. They are the undeniable evidence of a pre-established cosmic harmony, intimately responding to your newly calibrated energetic alignment. When the multidimensional mirror of your soul is finally polished and swept clean of egoic debris, it flawlessly reflects the supreme, divine order of the cosmos without a single distortion. The ultimate, elusive map detailing your soul's grand purpose is not a complex manifesto. It boils down to a singular, breathtaking recognition. You are the infinite universe consciously choosing to explore its own vastness through the exquisitely unique, utterly unrepeatable energetic signature that is you. The guarded, esoteric mystery schools of antiquity did not obscure these profound truths out of petty elitism or a desire to hoard wisdom. They shrouded this knowledge in secrecy because they fundamentally understood the lethal danger of the dyadic mind. They knew that if an unpurified individual, someone still hopelessly convinced they were a disconnected, threatened fragment, gained access to this limitless power, they would immediately weaponize it for trivial, self-serving desires. Such an ego-driven mind would foolishly attempt to use the ultimate philosopher's stone merely to manifest more heavy, toxic lead, accumulating more material wealth, chasing superficial external validation, and exerting tyrannical control over others. True energetic readiness was always the uncompromising gatekeeper. To cross the threshold, an initiate was required to endure a grueling epoch of purification, systematically dissolving every artificial identity until nothing but the radiant, indestructible monad was left standing. Hear me now. You have already survived this exact initiation. The crushing challenges, betrayals, and heartbreaks of your earthly existence were your purification by fire. Every agonizing loss you endured was a masterclass in forcefully detaching from the artificial. Every bitter disappointment served as a direct compass needle pointing you back toward the sole reliable truth in existence, the immovable, silent epicenter at the heart of your own chaotic, spinning wheel. You have officially earned your cosmic graduation through the relentless furnace of your own lived experience. Your era of passively studying the ancient mysteries has definitively come to a close. You are now the fully realized initiate, entirely equipped to stride boldly through the open gateway. Tonight, as the monadic core aggressively powers online, the legendary library of the Logos is unlocking its ancient vault directly within your own consciousness. You are the weary but triumphant cosmic traveler standing face to face with Sophia, the divine gatekeeper of your own eternal, internal wisdom. In this sacred space, you are realizing that the epic manuscript of your life possesses neither a title nor a distinct creator, for the simple reason that the author writing the story and the reader absorbing it are the exact same entity. You are the silent, witnessing awareness operating behind every fleeting thought. You are the unshakable stillness underlying every violent atmospheric storm. And you are the brilliant, indestructible light that has never, for a fraction of a second, been genuinely fragmented. That electric urgency vibrating in your veins is the sound of the dyadic illusion finally collapsing in on itself. This is the exact microsecond where the amnesiac architect violently remembers that they were the one who drafted the blueprints for this sprawling mansion all along. Instantly, the terrifying, labyrinthine corridors transform from a suffocating maze into an awe-inspiring masterpiece. The heavy stone walls cease to be the boundaries of a prison cell and instantly become the parameters of an infinite playground. As we pivot toward the final, culminating phase of this energetic transmission, you must anchor this profound recognition deep within your psyche. You are absolutely not a broken thing hunting for wholeness. You are wholeness actively in the process of remembering itself. You are not a lost pilgrim desperately seeking a sanctuary. You are the sanctuary itself, learning to recognize its own reflection in the multidimensional mirror of the physical world. The ancient map has been deciphered, the hidden territory has been breached, and the supreme activation is officially underway. Achieving intellectual comprehension of these concepts is undeniably beautiful. Yet, as the legendary masters of the great work constantly warned, the analytical mind is merely an advance scout sent ahead to chart the territory. It is the dense, physical vessel of the body that must bravely step forward and actually inhabit the land. Together, we have successfully navigated the darkened corridors of the material mansion. We have meticulously decoded the esoteric map of the monad, and we have analyzed the agonizing friction generated by the dyad. But right now, we have arrived at the ultimate precipice, where the purely conceptual must crash headlong into the visceral and physical. Mere cognitive understanding has reached its absolute limit. It is utterly insufficient to transport you across this final, perilous bridge. Why? Because the sovereign monad does not reside in the abstract realm of your fleeting thoughts. It is deeply embedded within the literal marrow of your skeleton and the rapid-fire electrical impulses racing through your biological nervous system. Tonight marks the definitive ceremony of your graduation from the bruising school of duality. This is the exact coordinate in space and time where you cease passively analyzing your potential and actively begin embodying your terrifying power. We are facilitating the radical transition from being a humble student memorizing the mysteries to becoming the breathing, walking manifestation of the mystery itself. That intense, almost suffocating urgency you have been harboring, that sudden constriction in the center of your chest, and the bizarre sensation that time has ceased being a linear arrow and has instead become a heavily pressurized container, is the undeniable alarm bell signaling that your portal of alignment is torn wide open. You will not be gifted a second opportunity to ride this highly specific cosmic current with such fluid, frictionless grace. Therefore, I need you to completely dismantle the analytical, skeptical part of your brain right now. Bring your absolute, unedited, raw presence to the physical action we are about to undertake. Right now, physically lift your hands and place them flat against the absolute center of your chest, directly over your sternum, the biological vault where the spiritual heart is housed. Do not treat this as a fluffy, metaphorical, or symbolic gesture. Execute this as a deliberate, powerful act of somatic anchoring. Consciously tune into the literal, physical warmth radiating from your palms as they make direct contact with the surface of your body. Lying dormant directly beneath your resting hands is the atomic furnace of the monad. It is the blinding, indestructible pinpoint of light that has silently accompanied you through every single chaotic incarnation, every shattering heartbreak, and every triumphant victory you have ever collected. As that physical warmth bleeds into your chest cavity, acknowledge with absolute certainty that you are directly touching the solitary fragment of your existence that has never been scarred, traumatized, or divided. This is the eternal, undisturbed eye of the hurricane at the center of your spinning wheel. Now, draw in a breath, not a shallow, unconscious gasp, but a profound, deliberate inhalation that floods the empty space directly behind your hands, forcefully expanding your lungs and stretching the very architecture of your ribcage. As you release that breath, mentally visualize the heavy, suffocating, gray armor of your fragmented ego completely dissolving into ash. Forcefully evict the tired identity of the perpetually wounded, spiritually starved seeker. Annihilate the pathetic narrative of the individual who is almost ready or still healing. You are absolutely not engaging in a dress rehearsal for some glorious future ascension. You are actively detonating the suppressed reality of your immediate, current existence. That intense, physical pressure building in your chest cavity is the newly awakened monad, violently demanding more real estate within your biological vessel. It is the literal clash of the infinite attempting to squeeze into the confines of the finite. The only possible method to alleviate this immense pressure is to radically expand the capacity of your internal container. Within the esoteric mechanics of quantum timelines, this very evening marks a critical, non-negotiable course correction. Visualize a massive ocean liner charting a course across a vast, featureless sea. If the master navigator adjusts the rudder by merely a single degree at the very onset of the voyage, the vessel will eventually make landfall on an entirely different continent. You are currently standing precisely at that monumental 1-degree pivot point. The conscious decisions you execute from this newly activated state and the sovereign declarations you project from this epicenter of total unity possess thousands of times more kinetic power than any desperate effort you ever exerted while suffocating in the dense frequency of the dyad. A single, crystalline moment of absolute alignment achieved tonight possesses the raw physics to permanently rewrite the entire trajectory of your future existence. This is the literal physics of deliberate intention. When the monad comes fully online, you immediately cease the exhausting, futile practice of trying to manifest desires from a foundational state of lack and desperation. Instead, you begin to effortlessly radiate your desired reality outward from an unshakable core of absolute abundance. Understand this universal law. The cosmos is completely deaf to your spoken vocabulary. It exclusively responds to your energetic frequency. By deliberately anchoring your awareness into that silent, indestructible point resting directly beneath your hands, you are broadcasting a massive flare into the quantum field, violently declaring that the wandering pilgrim has officially returned home. You are serving notice to the universe that you are no longer a jagged, bleeding fragment begging for wholeness, but rather, you are the very embodiment of wholeness, finally relearning how to pronounce its own divine name. This is the irreversible alchemical shift that permanently shatters the old mirrors and fundamentally alters the fabric of your reality forever. As you marinate in this profound recognition, I need you to consciously tune into the activation of your personal halo. Discard any preconceived notions. The halo is absolutely not a pious religious symbol, nor is it a poetic metaphor for moral purity. It is a highly literal, measurable bioelectromagnetic force field generated by a consciousness that has fully remembered its own sovereign divinity. When you were functioning primarily from the fractured state of the dyad, your energetic field was porous, leaky, and violently reactive to the chaotic noise of the external world. However, the exact moment the monad activates, your field instantly hardens into a coherent, luminous geometry of impenetrable protection. This is your personal frequency shield, the low vibration static of society, the projected fears of the masses, and the chaotic collective anxiety of a world perpetually at war can no longer pierce this barrier. Why? Because there is simply no matching frequency of fear left inside you for those parasitic energies to latch onto. You become completely untouchable not because you have arrogantly isolated yourself from humanity, but because you are now vibrating at a radically different, exalted octave that operates far above the mundane chaos. This halo functions simultaneously as your impenetrable armor and your greatest offering to the world. It is the stabilizing energetic force that instantly calms the chaotic space around you, subtly reminding every single fractured soul you encounter of their own dormant and forgotten power. This is the supreme cosmic service you were incarnated to deliver, not achieved through frantic, external doing, but simply through the sheer power of your being. By flawlessly maintaining the frequency of the awakened monad, you instantly transform into a towering lighthouse in a blinded world that has completely forgotten how to navigate the dark. There is a highly specific energetic code I need you to permanently brand into your consciousness right now. It is a 3-word mantra designed to act as your fail-safe return key anytime the dense gravity of the world attempts to drag you back down into the illusion of the dyad. These 3 deceptively simple words encapsulate the absolute totality of the alchemical great work. I am home. Speak those words silently in your mind right now. Feel the literal phonetic vibration of that statement echo in the physical cavity directly behind your resting hands. I am home. This is the ultimate, sovereign declaration of the awakened monad. It signifies the absolute termination of your endless searching. It signifies that the agonizing, hollow, spiritual starvation you have dragged across countless lifetimes is instantaneously and permanently satisfied. You have finally grasped the profound truth that the source is not a physical destination you must travel to. It is the very awareness staring out from behind your eyes that is doing the seeking. To declare I am home is to officially graduate, walking away from the exhausting identity of the eternal, wandering pilgrim. The arduous journey was a necessary evil to forge your spiritual endurance and gather vital experiential data. But arriving at this realization was always the ultimate objective. Tonight, the weary traveler and the grand destination have fused into a single, indivisible entity. You are the sprawling mansion, you are the ancient, infinite library, and you are the blinding light that illuminates every single forgotten corridor of your own vast existence. Allow the absolute reality of this recognition to sink deeply into your physical nervous system until it feels more tangible and concrete than the oxygen filling your lungs. To physically anchor this reality, I instruct you to type this exact phrase into the comments right now. I am home. Do not execute this action to appease the algorithm or participate in a hollow social media trend. Do this strictly as an act of asserting your own energetic sovereignty. The physical act of typing, of translating a pure, internal intention from your newly activated heart down through the nerves of your fingers and projecting it out onto the shared digital grid of this community is a profoundly powerful somatic ritual of anchoring. It is your official, undeniable signal to the vast quantum field that you have accepted the activation, and your great cosmic return is entirely complete. As you type those 3 words, consciously tap into the massive, surging collective resonance of every other awakened soul, executing this exact same command alongside you. You are absolutely not a solitary, isolated spark of light flickering in the void. You are a vital, structural node within a massive, highly coherent grid of activated monadic consciousness that is currently reinforcing the energetic architecture of this entire planet. Every single time one of us successfully remembers who we are, the dense static clears, making it exponentially easier for the next sleeping soul to finally wake up. Your personal activation is a massive tidal wave rolling through the invisible, interconnected web of life, forcefully purging the interference and amplifying the pure signal of unity, so that it becomes deafeningly obvious to everyone else. You are a decorated, battle-hardened veteran of the soul's epic voyage, and your graduation tonight is a triumphant victory for the entire cosmos. The celestial window that has opened this evening represents an exceptionally rare blessing of preordained cosmic synergy. You have invested years, perhaps even agonizing decades, meticulously preparing your physical and spiritual vessel for this exact coordinate in time, walking bravely through every brutal trial and surviving every devastating fire. You have been forced to witness the absolute disintegration of your former reality, standing utterly exhausted amidst the smoking ruins of your outdated, artificial identities, desperately questioning if you would ever experience the sensation of being whole and complete again. Let this exact moment serve as the definitive, undeniable answer to that haunting question. The catastrophic collapse of your former life was never a meaningless tragedy or a punishment from above. It was a highly necessary, violent clearing of the foundational ground. It was an intensive excavation designed exclusively so that the magnificent, indestructible temple of the awakened monad could finally be erected in its place. Right now, you are standing firmly in the absolute epicenter of that sacred sanctuary. The ancient cartography has been fully decoded, the hidden spiritual territory has been sovereignly claimed, and the grand energetic activation is officially complete. I urge you to carry this profound, unshakable stillness forward with you, weaving it into the quiet depths of the night and injecting it into the chaotic momentum of all your tomorrows. Permanently engrave this foundational truth into your psyche. You are the vast, infinite sky, not the temporary, passing weather of your thoughts, fears, and emotions. You are the silent, immovable axis around which the wheel of existence spins, forever untouched by the frantic friction of the outer rim. You have successfully unearthed the legendary Philosopher's Stone, discovering it hidden not in a dusty, esoteric manuscript, but beating steadily inside the biological vault of your own chest. The dense, heavy lead of your traumatic history and earthly suffering has been miraculously transmuted into the blinding, incorruptible gold of your absolute, eternal nature. The monad is now fully operational and blazing with light. The exhausted, wandering pilgrim has finally laid down their heavy burdens and found absolute, uncompromising rest. The esoteric, alchemical great work has been flawlessly accomplished. Welcome home, you brilliant, timeless architect of reality. Welcome to the breathtaking commencement of a cosmic voyage that possesses no final destination. The subsequent, far more exalted layer of your spiritual blueprint is already beginning to unfurl its mysteries before you. As long as you remain deeply rooted in this sovereign, silent epicenter, every single physical footstep you take upon this earth will leave a blazing footprint of pure illumination. Recognize that this metaphysical upgrade is absolutely irreversible. Your cosmic amnesia has been permanently cured. Your divine memory is fully restored, and the towering lighthouse of your soul is now broadcasting its beacon at maximum capacity. Step forward into the material world wrapped in absolute, unshakable peace. Walk with the supreme, quiet confidence of knowing that you are exactly the magnificent entity the universe has been patiently holding its breath to become. Your raw vibrational frequency is your ultimate, unconquerable power. And as of this beautiful, transformative night, that supreme power is no longer a distant concept. It is your undeniable, breathing, lived reality.